Hello, this is another video from trainingride.com, and this time we'll be talking a little bit in depth about the LoadRunner. It's a performance-based or performance testing tool. And basically, in the LoadRunner, what are we going to do when we are learning? We'll be talking about the different phases of the workflow. When we talk about the workflow which we are going to create, that will have us to go ahead and do number one. We have to go and then we have to plan our load test, right? Okay. Now, what do you mean by planning our load test? Basically, talking about, in terms of, since we are doing a load test, a load test would definitely have users, right? So we'll be talking about creating. We'll be going and creating what? These web virtual users, right? So, right, so user. So while we are creating these virtual users, basically we are creating them for a purpose, right? So we'll be talking about creating the scenario, right? Creating these users for what scenario, right? The scenario could be logging in. The scenario could be after you log in, you're performing some business process, and you continue to perform many more business processes, and then you log out. So we're talking about those things. So after creating that, we will go ahead and then so this is in our planning of our load test. We'll be creating the users, creating the scenarios, and then eventually what? We will be seeing as how after we run these scenarios. So running scenarios successfully, right? And after doing that, the goal here is to analyze the system, right? Under this load, analyze the system under this load. Correct. So that's basically we got to plan our test work. Okay, now to the what's the purpose? The purpose here is to um, making sure that the system works under this load, right? Okay, so we will go ahead and then we look into what is going to be um, our business process. That you would say would depend on the application, right? Depending on what the application is doing, and uh, we might want to go and then test it, right? So the different things which we could be doing will be in different modules of your load runner. So looking into the different modules of the load runner, we know that there is um, VUser, right? Virtual user module. And in the virtual user generator, VUGen as it is called, it 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 helps you create the script. Okay. Now the way the VUGen helps in developing the script is definitely using what is called the record and the playback, right? Functionality which is there. Now, after you record and play back that functionality, of course, maybe it is not helping the way you wanted it to work. So you could always go ahead and then you could customize that by inserting your own code. You could write your own code in a proprietary language, TSR of the LoadRunner, right? Which is pretty close to C. So you could write that in that language. Now, when we are talking about a scenario, for example, a scenario could define and control the number of users we want to emulate, right? And the action they could perform, right? And also We could also look into the machines on which they run this simulation. So the main purpose here is the LoadRunner is replacing a human user with something called a virtual users or V users. So when you run a scenario, V user emulates the action of a human user. All right, and what would it do? It basically is submitting input to the server. So while we understand that while a single machine or a workstation accommodates only a single human user, with LoadRunner, what we are doing is many V users can run concurrently, right, on a workstation. In fact, a scenario can contain hundreds or even thousands of those V users, depending on the licensing of the tool. So if you really want to emulate the conditions of heavy user load, then you could create a large number of V users that can perform a series of tests, right? Let's say, for example, you can observe how a server would behave when 1,000 V users simultaneously hit a server and make a purchase from eBay.com, right? You would say that, well, that is the scenario every minute, right? Don't you have like a lot of people? But we're talking about what are the chances that they would simultaneously, buy it. So only during the, seasonal time. If it is let's say Christmas, if it is Thanksgiving, if it is, let us say, Valentine's. I mean, there's a pretty good possibility that all of these users are trying to perform the actions almost simultaneously or concurrently, right? So what would they do? Each one would log in to eBay, right? And after they log into eBay, they are searching for red roses, let's say, if it is a Valentine. All right, and then after that, they will bid for it, right? So there are a lot of bids happening on that. And then after when the auction is almost coming to close, you can understand at that point you have heavy traffic, a lot of people trying to bid in the last minute, right? So that is a very good example of running a load runner test. So let us look into the load runner process, right? In a load runner process, basically, what are the different things which are happening and all that. So I'm gonna quickly give you a view of that, and I will show you what are the different things which are involved in there. So here we go. Now, as you can see here, I have this is the view of my controller. Let me give you the view of the vUser. Okay, this is the virtual user generator. So as I said, there are like multiple pieces, right? So now depending on basically what we are doing, you would be looking into the different modules of LoadRunner. So looking in here, what you have here is this is the VUGen module. In the VUGen module, basically, we will be going and we'll be reporting a script. That script could be of entering a username, right? So if I run this script, it basically would go ahead and then perform the actions, and there it is. That's a pretty good run and very quickly. So we will have the logs all the way in the bottom here. We'll have the logs, right? And you could see if something went wrong. If there's no red there, that means that everything was fine. And what I was trying to do, I was trying to execute this script, right? I was trying to execute this script, and I have done something called correlation in there. And then and that correlation, you would know. How would I know that I have done some correlation? And that is because if you see this, that's a WCS param, right? I up here is basically telling me that I used a function of LoadRunner called WebRegSave param, right? So what is a WebRed safe param? How do we do correlation? Which is one of the very, very important topics of LoadRunner. I mean, you cannot be a LoadRunner a performance tester unless and until you have an idea of what is that function WebRed safe param, right? Because they would be asking you a lot of questions on the interview about that. So how do we come up with that? How you see this function has arguments. There's a left boundary for the user session. There is a right boundary of the user sessions. So how do we come up with all that, right? That's what we'll be looking into in our course, right? And once you have the correlation done, how would you use the correlation parameter, right? The correlation parameter here is the WCS param underscore diff1, and I'm using that. So in my course, I'm going to be walking you through everything, all the details of that. Now, after you emulate the number of, after you generate the script, you're going to take the script into the second piece by going in here, going into run, load, test. So as I was talking about, there are like three different pieces in LoadRunner. There's something called create edit script, which will bring us to this area, right? This is where we will go and we will record that. This is the start recording. So it will start recording depending on what do you need to start record, or what script you would be starting to record. And once you record that, you will be making sure that this script runs without any issues. And because you will have some issues whenever you're trying to run a script because of something called sessions are going to time out, right? So if the sessions they time out, because the server is gonna issue out a session ID token, and the session ID token will expire once you close the browser. So how do you resolve that? So that's one of the important concepts of making sure that you run a LoadRunner script. So we'll get into all that, and then once I have my script running fine, then the next thing which I'm going to do is I got to bring the script into what is called my load test module. My load test module is going to look like this. It is a controller. So what do you do in here? Once you bring in the script in here, we can go ahead and we can configure that script. I've brought in a script called LR1. I could go ahead and I could configure that script for what? For different number of users. So this is what I will be doing in here. If I need to add more number of users, if I need to do something with more number of users, I would be doing that over there. So if you see right now, I in this script, if you go and look into the details of this script, if I see the runtime settings of this, there is going to tell me how that script is going to run. There is something called a vuser init which is going to happen, and then there's a run action which is going to happen, and in the end the vuser end is going to kick in, and that's going to happen. Think time used, it'll tell me if I need to insert more think time, I could do that. My logs, where they are running, standard logs or extended logs. You might want to use the extended logs because that will give you all the details, information of the parameter substitution and all that if you have used. So that will be shown there. So that's basically what all runtime settings of that is concerned. Now we have to go and we have to basically schedule this. So while I'm scheduling this script, this scenario, I am saying that I will have this many number of users which I will be running. So I have this for 10 virtual users, and there is something called the initialize part. Then there is start v users part. If I'm starting v users, I want to start with like 10 v users, right? And I would say that okay, if I go 100, I could go 100 and or 1000, right? So I'll be starting with 1000 V users, and with 1000 V users, what we want to do is we want to make sure that all those 1000 doesn't come out immediately. What is the scenario? I mean, we have to try and make it as close to as real life, which we could do, right? So, what are the chances that all those 1,000 users are going to click on the button and log into your eBay or any application at the same time? So I wanna, set this in a certain way that every 2 seconds, we'll have, or every 15 seconds rather, every 15 seconds, I have two users. I mean, in case of 1,000, that would not work. I should have more, because by the time we will put in all this load into it, the test might conclude, because I'm saying that run that test for 5 minutes, right? For 5 minutes. So this was good for 10, but for 1,000, I have to change these numbers. I have to make sure that every 5 seconds I have like five users logging into this, right? So this is how you go ahead and you configure, right? So in my course, I'm going to walk you through all of those things, right? How to configure it, what are the different things which are involved in terms of rendezvous points and vUser scripts to emulate the heavy user load on the server. I mean, when you have a rendezvous, basically what you're talking about is you're instructing the vUsers to wait during the test execution for multiple vUsers, right, virtual users, to arrive at a certain point. So it's the English meaning of rendezvous is meeting again, right? So you are meeting, you're waiting to meet the other users to come. So do you want to do that before? And that is the scenario in case of in case of bidding on an eBay, right? Because at the last moment you have a lot of people coming up. So in this video, I have taken you all over, right? I just trying to give you an idea of what it is. So let me just take you into the analyze portion of it as well. And what do we do in the analyzation? Basically, once you run the script, you have the successful working of the script. You take the script into the controller, and the controller is going to help you with coming up with setting up of all of those things in here. Where did we do that? Here. You could customize like how many users will be there, how these users are going to run, and all that, and then we will go ahead and then we will do a run. And once we do a run, here is what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get all my graphs and everything which I'm gonna get, right? So when I do that, this is the designing portion of it. After I design, I have to go and I have to run that. And once I run, basically what I'm going to get is I'm going to get all the details like vUsers, the whole scenario, right? Hits per second, and the transaction response per second, the elapsed time, and the Windows resources it's used, throughput, right? We get throughput, we get HTTP response per second, pages downloaded per second. I could nail it down. I could go ahead and then get my analysis on any way I want to, right? So basically, that's what I'll be showing you in that course, right? Well, I'll keep this video in a certain amount of time, so I'm going to conclude right now. So my conclusion is going to be when we come and learn that course in LoadRunner, basically we start with creating the scripts. We will go ahead and then create an accurate script so that it runs, and then we could do the parameterization of that script. We could do the rendezvous points on that script. We could do correlation of that script. We could do, I mean, a lot of things we could be doing. So once the script is successful, then we're going to be taking the script into the load module, which is the controller. And in the controller, what we're going to do, we're going to apply the scenario. The scenario is, okay, this test will have like 100 users, and each user will be adding to the load, let's say every second, right? So we're going to look into that. And then once we run the test, we will be getting some results. So those results we'll go ahead and then we'll analyze those results. After basically while doing the analyzation, we will try and isolate the bottlenecks, meaning that if my application is getting choked, right, it is not working good. So I can find out at what point it is failing or almost about to fail, right? And we will identify that, and then we'll recommend that, and then we will fine tune the hardware or the software of the application. That's all the purpose of your LoadRunner, right? So Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you would come back to take a course with us. We are traininglight.com. We offer trainings in different courses in QA. So basically, we do automation software testing training on different tools like QC, QTP, LoadRunner, and Selenium, and we do a training on the hottest tool which is out there today, which is a SOAP UI web service testing tool. So do visit our website www.traininglight.com. You could shoot us an email at sales@traininglight.com, or if you want to give us a call, you could call us 732-998-6650. Again, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon in one of our classes.